I was really curious to see what ChatGPT thought about the 2025 NFL season. Given all the movements, the coaches changes, the players, the draft picks, and it spit out something pretty interesting. I didn't like it. So I took the entire NFL season and put it into a spreadsheet, wrote down all the wins and losses, and then compared that to what ChatGPT said, and we're going to have a little battle. Over the next few videos, I'm going to do each division by video. We're going to go over some of the changes that happened, where I think they're going to land, and some sneaky card plays that could be in effect later on in the season, depending on how things play out. So if you want, like, comment, subscribe below. Let me know your thoughts. This is going to be super controversial. I'm sure no one's going to agree with me, but
this is blasphemy. This is madness.
This is Sparta!
All right, so we're going to start with the AFC North, which is traditionally a dogfight. You have three teams that could make the playoffs in some capacity, and the Browns. I'm starting with the Ravens. I think they're going to take the division at 13-4. And yes, those 4 losses could be somewhat controversial, but let me know. They haven't really had a lot of additions and subtractions, nothing crazy, a lot of stuff on the defensive side of the ball, some young quarterbacks, linebackers, stuff like that. You have to take into consideration that Lamar Jackson was 4th all-time with the 4th highest QBR last year at 119.6. And you also have arguably the best running tandem in the NFL between Lamar and Derrick Henry. And that's even if Derrick Henry loses a step, which I don't think is going to happen because the dude is a machine. Wrap that up in a nice bow and add a wide receiver 1 Zay Flowers on there, a healthy wide receiver 1 Zay Flowers, and they're gonna make some noise. I do think, though, those 4 losses are going to be interesting. I think they lose week 1 to the Bills. I think Josh Allen's going to come out and just go crazy in his home debut for the season. I then think that week 8, they are going to lose a home game to
the Bears.
And I think it could potentially be Caleb Williams' best game of the season. It's going to have to be. And I think that they're going to be clicking on all cylinders by week 8 with that offense, with all of those wide receivers. So I think that's going to be the first major upset. I then think there's going to be a late game heroic revenge game from the Bengals in week 13. I think Joe Burrow is just going to air it out. We're going to see what happens. But what could shockingly be the greatest upset of the entire NFL season, the Patriots in week 17, I think are going to just have a defensive battle. And I think they're going to beat the Ravens in a very low-scoring game. So that might be the most controversial take of all of these videos, but I think that's where they're at. Now, don't forget to stick around, because a little bit later in the video, I'm going to have some surefire bangers for cards to pick up during the season right now to maybe hold until a little bit later when they actually start to pop off. So pay attention. All right, this one should be pretty easy. Pittsburgh Steelers, 9-7. So they added Aaron Rodgers, 41 years old. They added DK Metcalf, coming off a little bit of an injury-marred season. They got Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith might actually make some noise. I'm kind of interested to see what happens there as basically the number 2 mouth to feed. But they did lose Pickens, and they did lose Minka Fitzpatrick. They did lose Najee Harris, right? Najee Harris was 1,000 yards rushing pretty much every single season since he came into the league, but never really took off. And George Pickens, I'm sure all Steelers Nation is like, peace. But he could be sneaky good paired with CeeDee Lamb on the Cowboys. So that'll be interesting to watch as well. Another thing to take a look at is the fact that they drafted Caleb Johnson at 83. So he's a power runner with a lot of vision. He's got some pretty decent catch radius, low fumble rate. Not the fastest player, but perfect for a gap man scheme. So let's see how that pans out. Now to discuss one of the biggest conundrums in all of football, the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I think they're going to be 9-8. They're going to come in 3rd in the division, just under the Steelers, because they're going to lose some games they honestly shouldn't. If the offense, super high-powered offense of Burrow, Brown, Higgins, and Chase, Gesicki sprinkled in there too, but he's really nothing at this point in his career. And then you have a defense that honestly is never, ever established. They're never added to the right way. They put all this money into their offense to never be able to stop anyone on the other side of the ball. Outside of Hendrickson, who is going to hold out, who is probably going to be traded, they have no one to stop another team from scoring. So if they don't put up 42 points a game, they will lose. 9-8, 3rd in the division, probably not going to make the playoffs. And before I get to the Browns, If you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know what you think about all these controversial takes. But the Browns are going to, again, be 0-16. They have 100 quarterbacks in the room. Shador might eventually take it if he doesn't get grounded by the team because he speeds his license into the police station. And they just take it, cut it up, and say, good luck, kid. Deshaun Watson could potentially practice sooner than later, which is ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. That dude shouldn't even be in the NFL anymore, but that's neither here nor there. They lost Nick Chubb, but they still got Myles Garrett, so the defense could be okay, disrupting the quarterback at least, especially with the linebacker they picked up. The good thing is they replaced Chubb with Judkins. And Judkins was the round 2, number 36 pick, 5'11", 221, had almost 4,000 rushing yards, 3,785 to be exact, throughout his career. 50 total touchdowns, 5 of which were receiving, in a pretty high-powered offense. He's tough to bring down, and he could rack up some decent numbers this year. They also have Jerry Jeudy, who I don't think is going to be as in play this year just because the quarterback play is going to be so inconsistent. And with him, you're going to need some more precise route running and some precise passes through some tight windows, which is going to leave open David Njoku, who by PFF, Pro Football Focus, he is the tight end 7 this year. He gets 33.3 pass routes per game the last 2 seasons. He's averaging about 12.8 PPR points. And I think that they're going to be, while 0-16, a very PPR-driven type of team. You have a lot of checkdowns, which is going to be great for Judkins, and it's going to be great for Njoku over the middle. And I think that they're going to have maybe higher than expected receptions, lower than expected total yardage. So that's an over-under for you. Bright spot to a brutal season, but expect some check-down volume PPR-style stat lines and an 0-16 season from the Browns. So overall summary real quick, Ravens finished strong with a 13-4 record, locking up the division title. Steelers grind to 9-7 behind a weird but oddly working Aaron Rodgers-led offense. The Bengals just missed the playoffs at 9-8 due to conference losses and a shaky defense. And the Browns, well, they crash out at 0-16, but Judkins and Njoku give some fans some hope. And it leads into a very interesting situation next year where Archie Manning could be coming out. And then do the Browns draft another quarterback with the number 1 pick? All right, so the division might send 2 teams to the playoffs, but the hottest card plays might not necessarily be who you think. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, he's always putting up MVP caliber seasons. You know, his short prints are going to be big, especially with this being the last year of Panini's license. Downtowns, kabooms, his rookie cards, stuff like that. Obviously, always going to have some upside. You're going into the uptrend right now, though, so be careful, but think about things you might already have in your collection. Zay Flower, especially if when Bateman fades, he's going to explode. He's a wide receiver 1. The volume is going to be off the charts for him, and he will be open because he's shifty. So sophomore wide receivers, boom. His short prints and his rookie card should be picked up. I'm grabbing some stuff on him right now, and I grabbed some stuff for him last year, so I'm kind of sitting on a nice little stockpile and just kind of hoping that happens. Don't sleep on Caleb Johnson based solely on the volume that he's going to get. Pittsburgh's always kind of been, when they've been good, they've been a run-first team. And he's shifty, check downs, he'll be open, he'll get some receiving yards. So by those parallels, now maybe some autos from his NCAA seasons, but also anything that you can get once he's in the NFL jersey for the last Panini year, you'll be good to go. Overall, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, but don't sleep on Chase Brown. Again, they're going to have to run the ball a lot in order to open up the windows because they are going to have to score a lot of points in order to stay ahead and win games. So look for some of them. Obviously, Burrow's always a win. Right now, he's down a little bit, so he's a buy. Jamar Chase is down a little bit. He's a buy. And people are sleeping on Chase Brown, so I definitely think you should grab him. Overall, with the Browns, 0-16 doesn't matter when you got volume and touchdowns. Quinshon Judkins is probably my play on the Browns, but a little sleeper there would also be David Njoku. You can get his stuff really cheap, which is great because he's going to get a lot of volume as well. And those two are probably going to be the only ones that score touchdowns. So keep that in play. And now for a quick honorable mention, we got some betting intel. So as of today, July 1st, the Ravens are -140 favorites via DraftKings. One of the best rushing defenses in the league, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They're going to have an outstanding offense. Not a bad play, especially if you're parlaying it with something else. The Steelers are currently set at plus 500. They made some flashy moves, but the roster is crazy thin. They really don't have any depth, and they're one wrong move or one injury away from just being like blowing up. And then there's the TJ Watt situation, which will have dramatic effect on their defense and could change these numbers dramatically. The Bengals, they're plus 230 right now on July 1st. Still top heavy. Defense is a full liability, and that's pretty much where they are. If the Ravens, if the Steelers and the Bengals flipped with their record, wouldn't surprise me either. But I definitely think that a better play is the Bengals over the Steelers with these odds. But I'm still picking the Steelers to be the one that has potentially a wild card position. And the Cleveland Browns, plus 3,000. Don't freaking touch the Cleveland Browns. But listen, all of this is speculation. All of this is super controversial. Do everything as far as card buying and betting at your own risk. But let me know in the comments below what you think. Just like, subscribe, give me a comment. Let's have a discussion and keep an eye out because the NFC North is coming next. So until then, keep sipping and ripping.